Hello once again. Hey. Welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Exandria Unlimited Calamity. Episode 1, Excelsior.
Yes.
Thought about Stanley.
Yep.
But named for the square that they have the party in. The parade. Opens with a dream. I always hesitate to do that because that's always the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Usually in media that has the dream as the opening sequence of a story. But on the other hand, it's a nice way to focus at least the opening part of a story on a new player.
Yeah.
Which I think Lewis is.
Okay.
I don't think he's played much D&D.
Gotcha.
His stats certainly scream main character.
Yeah.
As soon as the card flashed up, 29 strength, I'm like, okay, belt of giant strength.
Yep. Same.
So he's looking at probably...
And he's got an 18 con and a 20 charisma.
Yeah. Yeah. So all I could think of, definitely, okay. So main character, definite possibility.
The Human Paladin.
Yeah. Also an interesting choice in doing that, and I think the reason behind it is because he's the only divine caster in Aor, or Avalier, that he is sort of on that edge.
Yeah.
And the dream that he has is a vision of the Dawnfather defeating Asmodeus, the Lord of the Hells. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Rose.
And all I could think about was sympathy for the devil. Which, admittedly, I also play into that when I'm playing the devil. That he sees himself as the hero, and he'll be damned that anyone else sees him differently.
Yeah.
And his dream ends with, "Who did I betray?"
Yeah. And he has a vision of his deceased husband. And and that happens right before he says, "Who did I betray?"
Yeah.
And of his son. And the key thing that stuck out to me was when the son said, "Dad, you know I won't look like this when you get home." And then later he explains that he hadn't seen his son since he was 7, and his son would be 13.
Yeah.
So whatever happened, he gave up custody of his son or something.
Well, the interesting question that has to be answered, and may not be, is why he took the job of First Knight and didn't bring his son.
Yeah.
Because presumably that position allows one to have family. And maybe he had a dream that if his son came, he would die.
Maybe. Or maybe whatever happened to his husband caused him to be like, give him to the grandparents or something to raise.
Yeah.
Especially because he's like, you see the kid is like, my husband is what the kid will look like. Spitting image kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the who did I betray could be either him inadvertently causing the death of his husband or the guilt for giving up his child because it reminded him of his deceased husband. Or both.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think the elements of the dream and his stats.
Yeah.
Everything will pivot on that. I'm not bad. Brendan did a great job on the dream. And, like, the scene was constructed great.
Yeah.
It's just, I wanted to meet everybody. And we didn't meet everybody until almost 2 hours into the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like the solo spotlight intros were kind of long for each person.
And Brennan does that.
Okay.
That is part and parcel to how he sets up his campaigns.
Gotcha.
Usually. It's not always a dream, but it's individual vignettes of each person. And then we bring everybody together.
Gotcha.
I don't know if any of them have been 2 hours to bring everybody together. But, yeah. But the next person we meet is Sam's character.
Yep.
Totally wrong. Well,
I'm not
our hopes dashed.
Hope's dashed, but I'm not entirely giving up on it because he could be a creation bard. He is a bard warlock.
Yeah, but I have a feeling he's lore.
I have a feeling he's glamour, but...
And Fey Pact?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for creation, or I'm hoping he ends up having something to do still with something. It's probably not going to be FCG, but it's Sam. For all we know,
it's possible in his headcanon somewhere he's going to connect this guy to Scanlan.
Yeah. Or I was thinking Terry.
I think Scanlan's more likely. Especially if he's Fey Pact. Because that gets him closer to a gnome.
True.
But I also don't think
the entitled white boy vibe he gives off with both Terry and...
well, if Tyrion was Scanlan?
No. Yeah, connecting
Basically,
loquacious to Tyrion instead of...
Fair. But I like that he's the propagandist influencer, ex-husband of a member of the government.
Yeah.
Some subtext going through where everyone in this group is positioned within the society of Avalir.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is going to get at the reason why the city, why the calamity happened.
Yeah.
And we'll see how allegorical they actually try to make it.
Yeah.
But I think the allegory is going to be strong.
Yeah.
And that member of government is the next person that we meet.
Yes, Abria. Elven wizard. Abjuration wizard.
Yep.
An interesting thing that Abria confirmed on Twitter. Someone was noticing the disparity in hit points between her character and Marish's character, who are both 14th level wizards. One being in the 80s and one being in the almost 150. And, well, she took 2 feats. One was tough, and she's got the 18 con. And 2 was Eldritch Adept with the Armor of Shadows. So she can cast Mage Armor at will for free, and that buffs her ward for free. Her Abjurer's ward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that she's playing someone with Eldritch Adept. You get a Warlock invocation, and her ex-husband is a Warlock.
Yeah. That's funny.
Very. Now, is that what brought them together, or is that what caused the divorce?
No. The philandering caused the divorce. But yeah. We are told that the engine of the city that keeps it aloft for the first time in a long time doesn't need any tinkering at all. It's working perfectly.
Yep.
That the batteries are charged, the auxiliary batteries are full, everything's hunky-dory, which is always the setup before.
Exandria, we have a problem.
Yeah. And we learn also that she has been charting the strength of the energies in the ley lines.
Yep.
And Brennan drops the celestial solstice concept on us. And I was having difficulty trying to parse out exactly the mechanisms behind what that would be, as to why they call it that. Solstice means it has to do with the sun.
Yeah.
So maybe there's because the sun exists on many planes.
Yeah.
But it's not always the sun. So maybe it has to do with that and some kind of conjunction. But I think he said it's every 120 years where it gets really thin.
Yeah.
Which would put it, I think, roundabout where the current campaign is. So, yeah. The next person that we meet is the Merchant Prince.
Nidus.
Dragon of Avalier.
Yep. sorcerer bard,
Yeah.
multi-class.
Second
draconic sorcerer.
Yes. And founder of the Sorcerer's University, which makes him sort of a Professor X type.
Yep.
Also, apparently, a black market aether dealer.
Yep.
Who is trying to keep that under wraps. So basically, he is an oligarch.
Yeah.
The next person we meet is the Eyes of Avalier, Seret, the Isphera Inquisitive Rogue. Travis's character.
Yes.
I
believe it's just a rename of Eric Crook.
I don't think so. Because there was no mention of his talents. I think, and we don't know exactly. If we knew his fly speed, we could know for sure. But we don't know. But the walking speed that he's depicted in the cities hasn't been described as slower than anything else.
Right, but if he's using the mom, Aarakocra, both walking speed and flying speed are now 30.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
But either way, he is a inquisitive rogue.
We get a interesting piece of magitech in his investigation room.
Yep.
And the introduction of the conflict. Vespin Chloras. Vecna.
Yep.
Seemingly succeeding on his ritual to become a god. And yes, Travis is having much fun. Both of his investigation checks in this episode were over 30.
Yeah.
I was very jealous. But yeah. The last character that we are introduced to is Marisha's character.
Pesha.
A legacy mover and shaker.
Now, is she named Pesha after Hypatia?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's what I thought as soon as the character was introduced. This is Exandria's Hypatia.
The granddaughter of the original builder of Avalier. And in her scene, we learn of the distrust between Aor and Avalier, and the friction between the mages and Vasselheim, sort of in a first-hand capacity.
Yeah.
Where before it has been presented as historically, this has been an issue.
Yeah.
We get the name drop of the group, the Ring of Brass, which is a reference to it being beneath the Ring of Gold and the Ring of Silver, which are the two sort of upper crust rings beneath the Septarians.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. because that means, presumably, each of the Septarians is a master of one of the schools of magic, sans necromancy and dunamancy, as the windows within Caleb's tower. Which Aor, we know, is experimenting with dunamancy.
Yeah.
And we hear that they are looking to test a weapon of some kind on another city. I don't think that will come up in our short series.
Yeah, not in a 4-parter.
I think it's going to be chasing down Vecna and figuring out what he did and how to stop him. Because he was stopped.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm guessing is going to happen here. We go to the break, come back, and we have the party.
Real quick with Pesha.
Yes.
What type of wizard do you think she is?
Oh, my thought was scribe.
Yeah, mine too. Especially, I forget her title now, but it's like the scroll, the scroll keeper.
Yeah.
So I assume but she said the orb that was orbiting her was her focus. I think that's a crystalline Chardil or something. I forget the exact name of it. It's an orb. It's in Xanathars. And it can act as an arcane focus, but it can, It can do sending, message, tensors, and one other spell, all which she used. It gives those abilities. So I think that's what her focus is.
Interesting. That's a very rare.
I think so, yeah.
Because I think they all got at least one very rare magic item.
Yeah. I think that orb is hers.
And the Belt of Giant Strength.
Yeah. She casts every spell that orb gives, and it's an orb that can float around you and be your focus.
I thought her broomstone jewelry was an interesting addition.
Yeah.
Just because, like, it's the sort of opulence of nobility that you would expect in a mageocracy.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a nice touch. The star of the opening of the party is Bolo, loquacious +1. His mail order Aorian bride, which is why I say that the allegory may be strong in this one.
Yeah.
The next Omagerd moment was the announcement of Pervan Sewell, champion of the Raven Queen, and Travis losing his shit, and then like them being to the new players, this was somebody important in the first campaign. And Lou being like, "Yeah, I gathered that."
My thing is that the champion of the Raven Queen was being hosted by a necromancer. So is this before she took her anti-necromancy stance?
Yeah. And that necromancer, I got the impression that they were involved in whatever happened with the automatons. I could be wrong, but or it could just be, the bad guy's a necromancer, and she was asking, I think I can't remember, was asking about Chloris. So, yeah, I think they have something to do with it. It was funny when Travis was asked about what kind of armor does he have on. He's not wearing any. It's like, what? Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Travis gets made fun of because he doesn't remember things.
Yeah.
But he seems to remember an awful lot of Campaign 1. Especially, like, the ancient lore drop stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a recent development? When he found out they were going to be playing this, that he maybe went back and watched some stuff?
No. I think Travis gets more crap than he deserves.
He's just overblown.
I think his mind works like mine. There's some things that I'll forget, and not that everyone else will be like, what? And then there's some things that I'll remember in great detail.
The reason Snoopy Ace, why no armor, is because the divergence hasn't happened yet. The war hasn't started. And that was a gift of the Raven Queen to fight the war.
Yes, that's when the vestiges of divergence showed up. No divergence, no vestige.
Yep. Rose, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Because he and Sam were the most involved in the minutia. So that's fair, yeah. But we have the one of the automatons breaks, and this precipitates the confrontation, which ends the episode.
Yep.
And the rogue ability, I think it's regular rogue, base rogue, can detect when an invisible person is nearby.
Yes, that is one of their features.
And Brennan's description of it and how an inquisitive rogue would express that was pretty awesome. Because he knows to look for two dots moving together as the indication. Oh, and if the eyes are here, then the neck is there. So good. And on my first watch, I missed Brennan saying, we'll presume you took a bonus action to try to hide what you're doing, make a stealth check. I missed that my first viewing. So when on my first viewing, I was like, why does he have advantage? The dude's invisible. But then it's like, oh no, he can see because they're nearby.
Yeah.
He hid his intentions. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it reveals what I would term a reaver.
Okay.
Because Brennan said he was living, but had lips cut off, head and like re-stitched together. Dead. And I don't know if Travis meant to kill them.
See, I thought of the first Deadpool from the Wolverine movie, the really bad one. Like before the Deadpool movies when he was all stitched up.
Oh, yeah.
And had the Cyclops beam. He was stitched together with different parts of mutants.
Yeah, that's right. You still do.
Sorry for putting that memory back into your guys' heads, but I have to have it, so do you.
No matter what Deadpool did in the movie, it still exists. But yeah, I think he wanted to harm the person and take them captive.
Yeah, and question them.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. But in the mirror, he sees a figure move through smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And the figure or the mutilated visage of Vespin Chloris appears. And Travis is terrified.
Yep.
Screaming, "You can't do that to me!" I think Brennan was coached by Matt and how to terrify Travis.
Push these buttons in this order.
Yes.
Wait, that third one let him press. Trust me, he'll press it.
Yeah. Oh, random thing, loquacious. All I could think about was locutus. And it didn't help that he's a pale dude with gray veins.
I loved Sam's description of the morphine of the, looks like pouring paint from a can.
Yes.
Like, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sam is having a lot of fun with the Changeling Bard.
Yeah. It's Sam being Sam.
And I think Sam, with this build, is going to do things like a lot of Bard players that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing a Bard for the support aspect. Bardic Inspiration, maybe they're doing it for the mix of skills they can have.
Right.
The spell list is not particularly inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
For power gamers, at least.
Yeah.
But almost nobody that I've come across picks their spells based on their act. I do.
Yeah.
When I create a bard, I always am, how does this spell factor into my act?
Yeah.
Or if I can't find a reason, how does it help me survive?
Yeah.
Because some of them are, I take the spell because when you are working with corrupt, evil promoters,
you have to protect yourself.
Yeah. So I think this bard, Sam did that with. And I look forward to seeing how he expresses that.
Yeah.
And Rose, to your point about Brennan preparing, at one point Sam very quickly, offhandedly, quietly he asks, is it in this 20-page Word doc? And you notice they're all flipping through a stack of paper, which presumably is Brennan's initial setup.
Yeah.
Here's where all of you are. Here's what the city of Avalier is doing. Here's your position in it. Here are the NPCs that you know. Yeah. That kind of thing. And probably how you have worked together previously. I don't know how much Brennan guided the character creation, or if he said, here are the roles that need to be filled within the structure. So he already had this ring of brass worked out.
Yeah.
Here are the positions within that structure. Which one of you want to take which role?
Yeah.
And then they created their characters to fill that role.
Yeah.
My guess is that's probably how that went. I don't know. I think we got. The major lore drop when he was discussing, when Xerxes was discussing his dream with everybody, and then putting together pieces of the ritual that was used.
Yeah.
That the piece of metal that Cirrus was carrying around was a fragment of a solar bow, solar's bow. Which makes me wonder if there was, and what it was, an infernal artifact. A pit fiend's whip, maybe?
Yeah.
Because that would sort of be on par.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Laura was supposed to play.
Yeah.
Wonder why she didn't. Other than, I gather, the shooting schedule of this was quite extreme.
Yeah.
That they seemed to film all the episodes in one sitting. Maybe two.
Yeah.
But because I gather Brennan was only in LA for 80 hours and didn't sleep any of it. Or something like that. So, interesting. I did think it was funny when Marisha mispronounced her name. Which I guess that would feed into that maybe Laura started the character creation.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering how much Laura did, and if Marisha just picked it up, because that's a interesting exercise to do at the table if you've never done it.
Yeah.
Let someone else create your character and play it. It's one step beyond doing everything randomly. Because now that you say that, I can almost see Laura, like some of the personality traits of Paisha.
Yeah.
Laura,
no, it says. I'm assuming that Marisha got a basic character type and outline from Laura that she expanded upon. That's how I'm reading that.
Yeah, but you presume that means it was race, class, and that portion of the character. Where I think it was granddaughter of.
No, I think
This-
it could very well be that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like the mechanics come together quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it depends on how much lead time and how soon before the change happened. Interesting. But yeah, I think chasing down Vecna and stopping his ascension is going to be the key part of this campaign. And how that leads to the calamity. Or feeds into it. Because so much of it is probably subtext. Like why things fall. And like none of them seem on the surface particularly evil. Just sort of they're part of the system. And I thought that Abria's offhand comment about how children sometimes like to play in the mooring spots of the city. She's like, well, they'll only do it once.
Yeah.
Almost echoes politicians' response to school shootings.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, thoughts and prayers, and she barely gave that. Freaking deserved it. So, yeah, I thought that was funny and interesting. Again, I could be reading more into it than is there, but just where my brain is this week.
Yeah.
I think next episode we will have some scenes with Xerxes' son and family, and Nidoris' family.
Okay.
The interplay between Laren and Loquacious, I expect to take a backseat.
Yeah.
I am waiting for Sam, the next argument that they have, for Sam to pull out something like, it wasn't me. Shape change. It was this guy.
Yeah.
Who do you want me to be, baby? I'll be anyone. I think that'll be the extent of it.
Is that how he caught her cheating?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe he decided to test her and did his level best to woo her, to seduce her away from himself.
Yeah.
And yes, Jinger, we talked about the main character. Yes.
Yes. His strength is 29, though. Yeah. Belt of Storm Giant strength.
I don't think.
At least he wasn't sitting between them.
Yeah. Fair. They're both on the opposite side of the table
From.
where they normally sit.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, how you know Marisha's the boss, because her chair's the same.
She's saying.
Sheldon level, that's my chair. But you weren't here. Yes, but that's my chair.
Say the new people. Lewis sits down. He's in my spot. Matt, go talk to him. He's in my spot. No, I don't think she would do that.
I don't know. It's just funny to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even at our table, you guys fell into my spotting at the table and made a conscious effort at the change of the campaign to switch it up. I remain. I'm the Marisha in our situation.
Yes. Actually, I'm running the current campaign. I kind of like the spot I'm at because it's the only place that I can sit and look at everybody without someone being behind, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, the attribute mods, I mean, they're level 14. They've got 4 ASIs, at least.
Yep.
Even the multi-class ones probably have 4. Because we don't know the splits.
Yeah.
At least it hasn't been made evident on the show. Excuse me.
Well, no, at least 3. I think the single class wizards only have 4, 8, and 12.
Oh, yeah.
The rogue has 4, 4, 8, 10, and 12.
Yeah.
Paladin has 3, and then depending on the split for the other 2.
Yeah. But also, I think Brennan probably did in sort of what I did in the epic past. You're not rolling 4d6, drop the lowest. You're going to roll 5d or 6d4, drop the lowest. Maybe that's what he did.
Yeah.
Or whatever mix, or he gave them an array.
Yeah.
To do with as they will. I think it's interesting that Brennan chose Vecna. Like, I don't know. It gives me hope that he doesn't want to make it up out of whole cloth.
Yeah.
As it were.
Okay.
Where like Bad Robot Star Trek is just, yeah, let's just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
We'll use some of the same names. no one will care. Let's do what we want. Speaking of Brennan paying attention to the background, I saw some discussion on Twitter about Avalier and Savalier, and how Matt mentioned that Savalier means grief or guilt. And someone was like, is this like a prefix situation where Avalier means the opposite? So like greatness or pride.
Yeah.
And Savalier would be the opposite of that.
Maybe.
And all Matt's response was a winky emoji.
Nice.
So yeah, Brennan definitely did his homework.
I'm sure he had multiple conversations with Matt.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like even Abria, for her EXU stint, she did much the same thing, where homage and sort of commitment to canon was there, and in the space that she had to play with is where she played.
Yeah.
And like arguably Brennan has more freedom, because anything that he does could simply be hand waved away as lost to history.
Yeah.
You know, the mechanical cat buses were interesting, and I think will come up later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Matt, I didn't know about him being in chat and freaking out like that. Yeah. But someone asked him, what's it like to see someone else run games in your world? And it was just one of those things that they tweeted at him and just showed up in my feed. And I answered, and I was like, it's awesome. When you create a world and somebody else runs a game in it, it's great. I don't know how it is to watch that. I just know how it is to play that. And I know I got a great thrill from it. And Matt expressed similar things with Abria running. I think the difference now is he gets to watch it. He's not at the table.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming he wasn't there when they were filming. Just because if you're doing EXU to give cast members days off, they're not going to show up at the office.
Yeah.
Plus, Matt is cognizant of that his presence might put more pressure on Brennan.
Yeah. He's probably at home in his office, either making notes or building maps.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the time where Marisha won't accidentally come in and see something she's not supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Or he's planning something for their anniversary because he knows he's got the guaranteed wife will not be in. Yeah. Like, I think Matt knows enough that he could, in theory, spoil something if he's not careful.
Yeah.
Just because of what he knows about the history. And
he probably knows, the history in Brennan's prep.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how the characters are going to act.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah. That's almost enough to make me want to have the chat open on Thursday to look for him.
Yeah. Because I don't usually have the chat open.
No, and based on my mobile data usage on my phone, the Twitch chat uses data, and Critical Role's Twitch chat uses a lot of data. So to keep my data usage down, especially with my daughter being out of school, I need to be in the habit of being thrifty with my data because she is going to be watching videos all day.
Yep.
So I've taken to watching it on YouTube just to save the data.
Gotcha.
Yeah, interesting. I'm looking forward to how Brennan keeps the story moving forward.
Yeah.
Despite having the familial distractions that are going to happen next episode.
Yeah.
Because one of the things Brennan likes to do is highlight what everybody has to lose. So I think that's what next episode is going to be. Here's what's at stake for you. Here's what you're fighting for, and drop some clues here and there.
Gotcha.
To get them on to the next thing. Because they're 14th level, they have access to teleportation circle and all the travel spells that they need to get around the world. So they're not stuck here. But we'll have to see on Thursday, and then we will be here on Tuesday to talk about it.
Yep.
Take care, guys.